So thank you for coming down to the partnership. Like she said, we host this 4 times a year, so we're excited to have you here. Starting here 2 years ago, I knew that the Women's Business Center was doing this series and really wanted to be able to actually take it out further and have it be documented and living online so that all the female entrepreneurs around the state could get the information when they needed it, because they can't always make it down here. So our viewership online is actually very, very high for this series and the other series that we do. So if you ever miss a series that we're doing that involves entrepreneurship, please catch us on the hub. And it is just DesMoinesPartnership.com/small business. So if you can't make an event, join us there. But we're excited to have you today. There is a couple flyers I left out on the table of events we have coming up. So if you're interested in those, our top 5 are once a month. First Friday is once a month. And then we actually have a really exciting opportunity coming up. On March 6th, we have Jason Pfeiffer with the Entrepreneurship Magazine. We'll be at Colby Park at their Windsor Heights Community Center this coming Wednesday. He'll be here for an hour, and the thing I'm so excited about is he's talking about how entrepreneurs think. So I know everybody in this room thinks, and if you're an entrepreneur, it would be a great session for you. So if you can, join us for that one. Otherwise, we'll look forward to seeing you guys at any of our upcoming events that we have.
Thanks, Christina. We appreciate the partnership. The Iowa Center for Economic Success provides assistance to startups and growth within a small business. We do that through education, such as today, or our business planning class called Dream Builder. There's a summary on your table of our educational classes that are coming up. We provide access to capital through our microloan program, which is funded by Iowa Economic Development Authority. We provide access to capital through our volunteer income tax assistance program of the IRS. We have 26 partners around the state that help us provide free income tax preparation for low to moderate income Iowans. Last year we did about 20,000 tax returns and over $26 million of returned money to our citizens of Iowa. So it's an awesome program. We also provide access to capital through our Fin Capital group, which is an all-female angel investing network. So we have a group of certified angel investors that once a month, Shark Tank-ish, are hearing pitches of scalable small businesses that want to grow, exit, and provide economic growth within their firm, as well as those that invested with them. So I think we should get started and hear from our First Friday feature today, Michele De Klerk. So let's welcome her. Thank you. Thank you. So the first thing, I'll do just a quick little bio on her because it's pretty impressive. Michele founded Conference Event Management in 2003, an industry's premier provider of world-class event, conference, incentive travel, and meeting experiences. The company has experienced significant growth since its inception, and in early 2017, was selected by Goldman Sachs 10,000 Small Businesses as the only Iowa company to participate in that inaugural event. So that's very impressive, and I'll ask you more about that. Oh my gosh, your awards and accolades. 2018 Enterprising Woman Award and 2017 SBA Iowa Women Business Champion of the Year. So we welcome you, and we would like you to, I know. Why don't you first start by having a free commercial. Tell us what Conference Event Management does.
We keep people out of trouble. We swoop in and the main thing that we're very focused on is helping people secure their hotel and cruise lines. We know what to put in the contracts, and we know that a lot of hotels look really good online, but they're not the right property for them. So we spend a lot of time with that. And then if they do need full service, we can ticket them and get them there. We build their websites to register the people. We have the opportunity to do gifting while they're there, and we're all about creating engaging experiences. A lot of people think that that's probably an easy job, but our job has changed over the years, and that it's really about risk management And so we're very focused on the security and the safety of the people while they're with us, even though we do get asked if we get paid to go on vacation. Typically, 500 adults on alcohol is not what you would want. And my mic is going out here, so
Is it okay, Mike?
I'll try to make sure I tilt it or do something different if needed.
It'll be good. We can always trade, too. So let's start with kind of your early chapter of entrepreneurship. You started in 2003, so you probably came out of another organization, but tell us about that early path into it.
I was with ING, now Voya, and they were on a different strategic path than I was most likely going to be headed. I decided that moving wasn't an opportunity for my family. We really like Iowa, and we knew this was the place for us, and to take my husband from his position and move him wasn't going to be the best move for us. I had also been on the road so much traveling with them that I needed to come home and reconnect with a baby that I had at home that I didn't really get to see very much. In that last year I was on the road so much that I was in 67 different hotels after my baby was born. And that's not hotel nights. That's just different hotels. So I had a 2-year-old and a newborn at home, and I thought, this is the time. Let's do it.
That's a big decision.
It was an easy decision. I think being a mom, it needed to take place at that time, and my husband was ready for me to come home as well.
That's awesome. So you leave Voya, or ING at the time, and look around and you're like, okay, I can do this myself, but how do I do that? What was your first phone call? Where did you work? Did you work at the kitchen table, or?
The first phone call I made was to an agency group out east, and I don't know why it was a phone call that I made. And when I got on the phone, I told this gentleman that I was going to be leaving ING, and he put me on hold, and he came back 5 minutes later and told me that he was going to hire me. And I asked him for what? And he said, well, insurance companies do events, but we also do events, and we've all been on your events. We love you. We want you to plan our next event. And so then I learned about a whole nother industry that needed event services. And so it was a very odd moment to be sitting there, realize like, oh, I have a client. Like, I guess I really am going to do this.
So then what was your next phone call? You probably had to connect with providers that were contracted with ING, not necessarily you. How did that work?
Yeah, so I did move into the dining room. I took that over and quickly realized that I was working too many hours, as most of us do when we first start a business. We don't know how to separate that, especially when we're in the home. At that point, my next few connections were I needed an air team. And since I had been with a major corporation with international span, I had already interviewed so many air teams, and I knew which one I felt like would be a good partner. So I went into a relationship partnership with them. And the difference is that they don't own any of my company and I don't own any of theirs. And we had a really long relationship, and it allowed me to make sure that they were providing the best level of service that I needed for my clientele. So it slowly became together. As I added new clients, I would add another service, whatever was needed. And a few times I added some services that I shouldn't. Someone was like, oh, you know how to market? We need a writer. Could you start doing our company marketing for us? And I veered off in another direction, and I needed to bring that back home. It wasn't a smart move to be doing everything for everyone just because they felt I should. I needed to really bring it home to what I knew I should be focused on, which was in the events world.
Interesting lesson that you learned early on.
Yes.
Probably. So let's talk about you're working out of the home, you're adding clients. Are you still doing it all yourself, or when did you have to bring in some help?
I think, well, the first week I have to say I was so excited because when you decide you're going to be an entrepreneur, you have all these things that you just think, I'm going to do this because I can. And so I decided I was going to go work out every day. So I worked out for 4 days. And at that point, then I had to hire my first employee. And so I hired an intern who then, as soon as she graduated, she came on with me full time. And then we had to hire a few more employees as well. So it was never strategic. I did not have the business plan that you all know that you need to start with. I came at it backwards. And we worked like that for 8 years. I had business cards, but I did not have anything else. So when people would say, we want to refer you on, I'd be like, oh, great. And they're like, do you have a website or anything? And so I slowly got into it. So we definitely were not strategic. We were just dealing with the growth, as many people do, just flying fast forward, being on the road all the time and trying to take care of their needs.
Yeah. When did you start handing over some of those trips? I mean, was that an initial thing, or were your first employees handling your administration and the building of the trips, but you were still the point person?
Because most people had been referred to me, I was the face of the company at that time, and so I did tend to go on them, but a lot of our trips can't go solo. We need a team of people to travel with us. But my belief is that if my employees plan the trip, it's their reward to get to go do the trip. So it's not my privilege, it's theirs. So I like to treat them fairly. If they spend all the time investing in that, it's really their hard work that needs to be rewarded. And so on occasion I go. But I find that it's hard for employees to treat me as a coworker, and they don't assign me work to do, which is really dangerous, because then when I see things that need to be done, I just do it, and that's not always a good thing either for them. So it's much better if they travel with their coworkers than me in that capacity at times.
Oh, well, I'll come back to that about employee relation with you as the boss. So we'll come back to that. What about outsourcing for accounting and legal work and contracts and things like that?
Well, my background was I went to school to be a broadcast journalist, so I ended up with a lot of hands in different areas, and also I had won a scholarship for accounting, so that got me into college. So I had that background, which was very beneficial. I think when you start your own business, having some sort of an accounting understanding is beneficial. And it's a good place to invest some additional time, even if you don't love accounting, just getting the baseline for that. But we do outsource our attorney work. I have 4 attorneys because in my industry, we're all about risk. If you can imagine, I have a lot of people I'm responsible for in other countries, and I need to take that seriously. So I do have just a meeting industry expert attorney that I try not to use very much, a little pricey. And then I have other attorneys for different reasons. I also have what I consider one of the best personal attorneys that handles all of our high-end year-end taxation and all of that, stays on top of the best of everything. And so I do consultations to make sure that we're set up, try to connect with him quarterly. So that's a good thing for us to have someone else on the outside looking at it and bringing us the best practices. Just like, we look at big companies, and big companies certainly don't always need small businesses to support them, but we're quick and we're nimble and we're able to adapt. We can honor their payment terms, which are often difficult for big companies to be able to do. But with that also, you find that you really have the ability to get the best people when you outsource for certain aspects. And so I think from my perspective, having an outside accountant and attorney makes sense for us.
Yeah. I think a lot of people, we hear consistently from our First Friday. Now, for those of you that heard from Sally Cooper Smith, she didn't know the accounting, but that is what she learned. So she dug in and learned the subject she was least comfortable with, because she said, I couldn't manage what I didn't know anything about. So it was interesting, and you at least had that background. So we're working from home. How long do we work from the home office before you outgrow that?
As long as we could. I had a problem. I was a workaholic. I had such a supportive husband, and he took on everything else, and he didn't complain about it. And that enabled me to continue to work till 9, 10, 11, 1, 2 in the morning. And if I would have moved out of the house, I was trying to vision how in the world would I be able to do all of this remotely. And so after 8 years, we moved into office space. It was definitely the best decision. It also validated our business. We did have a very nice office space that could fit up to 6 to 8 people in offices in our home. However, this was the opportunity for other people to really see that, oh, they're a bona fide business. And we were really trying to fly under the radar. We've never wanted to be that big company. We want to be the ones that people come to for the relationship and that they know we've got their back. We're not going to let anything fall through the cracks. You're going to get phenomenal service. We're just a little different. We're going to treat you a little different too. And so with that, the timing was perfect at the time it happened, but it did take a little bit of adjustment from me, and it did teach me to put a little more in the boundary side of my work and my personal life.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about that, because I know you mentioned how supportive your husband was. So why don't you share a little bit about, as an entrepreneur, how important that family support really is, that it's not just a myth.
I don't believe in work-life balance. There are so many books out there, and I should see if I could coin it. I believe it's a collaboration, and I'll tell you why. I gain a high level of enjoyment and satisfaction from work. I love work. I love to talk work. I'll be talking work tonight on a Friday night. I love business. I love business strategy. If you take that from me, I'm not going to be fulfilled. And so with that perspective of knowing that, and the fact that I am going to be on the road for maybe 11 days in a row, and I might not call home, but maybe once or twice. Now with texting, maybe I could throw a few more texts in there and someone might get a text from my family in that period. I'm very focused on what I'm there to do, and I'm okay with that. I don't need that interaction continually. But when I am home, then I can adapt. And I can do the things that I need to do, or on a daily basis, I can pivot as well. So I think if I were to set myself up and I told myself I needed a work-life balance, I would have to fail myself, because I would be telling myself, well, I'm not worthy, I'm not doing what I'm supposed to be doing. Whereas if I find it a collaboration and I'm finding enjoyment in the things that I'm doing and at the times I'm doing it, then I think it's a win-win. And as long as I'm meeting the obligation of the family and being there when they need me, and in those opportunities, I can't see how a collaboration wouldn't be the best thing for my lifestyle.
Right. So let's talk about how you've set some boundaries, kind of forced boundaries, because you're wired to work a lot. Yeah. So talk about how you've maybe structured your day. I think this leads into a day structure pretty well, about boundaries, my day. How does your day flow?
I'm not always successful at that. Email is very bad for me. I love email. I type fast. I can send out emails like crazy. When I need to be focused, I have to stay out of email. But I start my day with email. I'm in the office bright and early. I like it when it's quiet. I get in before everyone else, and I'm on the email starting to plow away. I'm big into priorities and goals, so I work out of an Excel spreadsheet for myself of everything that needs to be done for the day. That's going to change throughout the whole entire day. I'm also focused on working on the business, which is rather new for me. Before, I've always been an order taker, and I satisfy the needs of my employees. I believe in the agile approach. You know, what'd you get done yesterday? What are you going to get done today? And how can I support you, or what's standing in your way? And then when they need the support, I just dive in. I'll do that. Let me help you out with that. And so now I'm actually taking time each week working on the business, working on strategies and goals, and accomplishing so much more than I could have ever imagined if I was just in the moment of working on a task basis.
Right. You shared with me a little bit about how you were actually blocking certain strategy time.
Yes.
And I know it's new, but
yeah.
It sounds like it's going well.
Yes.
So you might
sure. Yesterday, after I finished up a meeting, I blocked out time and I went and worked on a 2-year goal strategy where I'd worked with a outside consultant to come in and look at some goals that we wanted to set. Our management team put those in action, and I needed to refine them and decide what quarter we were going to work on those. And so it's not fun work. It's really hard and strategic to think through all the aspects of what you could do better, but we're very much about process improvement at our company. We're not content. There's not really a place on my team for contentment. And so if there's someone who's content, they probably need to consider some other options as far as job responsibilities or other career paths, because we're going to change and we're looking for the next best way to do something with their input.
Excellent, excellent. Let's talk a little bit about your marketing strategy, your client strategy, pre-2008 and post-2008.
When we started, we took anything, and that's not a good thing to do either. Post-2008, we realized that we were so heavy in the financial investment and banking sector that when we had the what was known then as the AIG effect, that really wasn't a good position for me to put my employees in. I'm responsible for helping them pay the soccer bills and pay for braces and all of that. And if I have all of our eggs in one basket, if I can use that term, it doesn't do anyone well. So we have a financial goal that we will not go above a certain percentage in the financial sector. And then all of the rest of the business needs to come from another area, agricultural associations and different things like that, because we want to make sure that we have a company that is in it for the long run and that our employees are knowing that they have a safety net.
Right. So if we remember in 2008, all the with the financial downturn, that was this incentive travel just stopped. Am I correct?
Yeah,
I mean, it pretty much stopped.
I think we might have been the only company that I know of that made it through in the mid sector. You had the huge companies, and they laid off, up to half of their employees. But in the mid-size, small mid-size events that we were doing, I'm not aware of anyone else that still had their shingle out the next year. So we weathered it, and I paid myself on December 30th of that year.
So tell us what you think maybe the two key things were that you were able to survive that.
We were really good at connecting with our clients and asking them what they needed. And there were some other areas that they were saying, well, we do this too. And we said, oh, tell us about that. And so we were able to do that. We also, we were really known for high-end luxury. At one time, people knew us for Australia. And so anyone in the industry that knew there was a trip going on, they'd say, oh, hey, can you help us with a trip to Australia? Or something along those lines. And so now we're not known as that. We're known as the company that puts on engaging events all over the world. So whether it's a meeting, a trade show, a symposium, something that gathers groups of 10 people or more for a purpose, we can do that. We don't have to be known for doing these high-end luxury incentive trips for financial companies, which were under a lot of scrutiny then, as well as 2 years ago with the Department of Labor fiduciary ruling. That also took a toll on us. And because we had diversified and we were purposeful in advance, it did not affect us to that degree that, again, a lot of other companies went back out of business in 2016.
Tell us a little bit about diversification is good, but sometimes it can veer you off your path. So talk about how you strategically diversify yet keep to your core.
We actually look at all the types of clients that we have, and we look to make sure that we got the right type of clients on board. We're also looking at what type of events they bring to us, and we're looking at the timing of year. Incentive trips are often at the same time, and so it could burn out my employees if I let it. And this way we're having work throughout the whole year, and that really helps. So not only in the diversification of the types of meetings, but also the types of delivery. And also I found out it was interesting. I thought my employees all wanted to do high-end luxury incentive trips out of the country, but they like to stay at home and sleep in their own beds every once in a while too. So an event that might just take them a few states away or something and gets them back home in a few days' time, they're not opposed to that. And they also find that they're more challenging. Meetings have a lot of aspects to them, and so they like the challenge. They're very much up for growth, and so that to them is what's important to them, is having a good diversification too.
Talk about how technology, because it's changed a lot since 2003 when you started to now. So talk about how you've embraced that and how you've made that a big part of your business.
Well, we are on the computer for everything we do. Every once in a while, when you're in an office setting and the server goes down or the lights all go out, you look at one another and you don't know how you could possibly all have anything to do for the next half hour because you're like, my computer's down. So from the technology standpoint, back in the early 2000s, there was the transformation of everyone starting to do websites that would have all of the information out there to gather, not only registration data, but also to inform people about the events that were coming up. And so we got away from paper registrations. So then we had to get into building our own websites. Now we have people that are trained on how to do building of websites. In addition, we live in Excel at my company. And so we really make sure when we're interviewing that people would feel comfortable using Excel or allowing us to send them through training for Excel. We're very open to sending them there, but we're doing a lot of tracking. Nothing we do can let anything fall through the cracks. If we're doing an event on a certain day, there's a D-Day, and it has to be done, and it cannot be postponed. So we have to be using technology to the fullest. We're also using Google Forms and different things. We are very big into operational audit process mapping. And so we know if-then about everything we do. So if this happens, then this. And then if this, then this. So we have everything mapped out in our major areas of service strategy that we do. And we have the path where the file is located on the server embedded in that. So our goal with that is so we can grow quickly. And if we do have an issue where we need to put someone else in another position for backup or for any other reason, they can follow the process map and we can cut down the training time significantly. So people can do a self-guided training with us. We'll have some new staff starting next week, and it'll be a combination of using a training binder as well as using the opportunity to go through and follow along and be able to then, look at the information and ask good questions, perhaps.
So since you brought up bringing on some new employees, let's talk about a new strategy you're going to be using when you bring somebody on. Are they going to be training with a coworker, or you actually implemented they're going to train with you first?
Yeah, so I read this book that talked about the manager or the owner of a small business should really consider doing the interviewing. And so, we like to think that we have HR, and we use HR, and that's a great aspect. But if these are the people that are going to be working in a small business and embody the culture that you want, and you want to make sure that you feel that they're going to get along in your organization and be a good fit and that they'll enjoy working for you, that's really the way to go. So looking at that opportunity and taking that approach, I think it's a new thing, and I'm going to be focused on delivering the training for 2 hours a day for 9 days. We have a training system that we put together. We're very organized. If you haven't picked that up yet, I apologize. We're not for everyone, but the level of organization, I thrive on it, and so everything in our place is process-driven, and so we'll be following along, and we know what we'll accomplish. Then we'll stop and let them have a breather, and we've got some projects planned out so that they can go back and learn events. So it's definitely, it's always a work in progress, but we're trying to make sure that the onboarding is as solid as it can get, because we do know that if you onboard well and you continue with it throughout your first year and you show them that you care and you show them the path to success, you don't have to micromanage later on. They'll have the tools they need to make themselves successful.
That's great. That's great. You want to talk about the Goldman Sachs 10,000 experience?
Sure.
Yeah, that was tremendous for you.
It was super, and it still is. So there was an opportunity to go out east and participate in the Goldman Sachs 10K Small Business Program, and I got the opportunity to be with 150 other business owners from around the world. And one of the things that I found most intriguing was when I went in, I'm a very guarded person. I don't share a lot sometimes as it relates to, your successes and failures. You kind of feel like, oh my gosh, I'm the only one that has ever had that happen. And why is that happening? What do I need to do better to improve upon? And with the opportunity to go out there, one of the very first questions they asked as we're all sitting there in an environment similar to today, we're sitting around and we're a little tense, we don't know each other. We've all flown into a snowstorm, and we're sitting around in the classroom, and they want to know about employees. And, they want you to raise your hand. Have any of you had any issues with recruiting or retention? And I'm like, well, I'm not going to raise my hand. I'll be the only one. All the hands go up in the whole room. And all of a sudden, it was that epiphany that you realize, as a small business owner, you're not alone. That someone else has been there in your shoes. And even though there wasn't another event planner in the room, I had a guy that was building the nut or processing or making the nuts and bolts for the rocket ships, so that was pretty cool. And then you had people that, one of the gals created salsa that's being sold at Costco, so it's people of all different walks of life, and we all had the same issues, and it made me realize how much we are really connected, and why the beauty of these programs where we can get together and share is hands down one of the best things that we can do, because someone has already gone through the situation you're in. Even though you don't think they can relate to you, they can probably relate to you more than you could imagine. And so to get that education was just phenomenal. And now the programs come here. It's a little bit different, but it's still a great opportunity for education, and to get a gift like that where you can really step back, and they taught you how to be a top entrepreneur with the top entrepreneur university in the nation was just, it was breathtaking at moments. It was exhausting. And as a result, I created a mastermind group. I handpicked people out that I thought were pretty darn intelligent from the group, and that I could learn from, and that hopefully they would enjoy some of the things that I would bring to the group. And we still get together monthly, and we powwow over different issues that we're having. And sometimes you don't realize you're having them until you start talking with them. And then it's awesome when you know that you have a solution that you can share with someone, and know that they care about you and they want you to succeed, and that they don't need to know your business to help you move forward.
So let's bring that local. So taking that same important aspect of networking, and let's bring that local. What have you been able to be involved with locally that you have found to be so beneficial?
So I'm with the National Association of Women Business Owners, NABO, Iowa, and that's my go-to group. So the group there is of like-minded women, and we all have the opportunity to get together and share ideas and build one another up, and we use the opportunity to talk business. So when you go out and you have a beverage, a lot of people aren't looking to talk business, but my NABO sisters and I, we talk business, and we like it, and we thrive on it, and we're there for one another. And so it's a relationship thing first. Some women would, of course, get business out of it from others. My business is very unique. A lot of people don't have the funds to put on a major event somewhere else in the world to use me, but I can mentor, I can coach, I can be there for others, and I can get ideas as well. And we do set time aside and get together, and we grow our businesses. And it's just a wonderful group to know that, again, I'm not alone.
They're also having a membership drive that just started today. Mary Ann Kennedy can speak to you about that.
Yeah. Mary Ann and I got together last Friday afternoon, and we strategized on something that we both wanted to talk about. And so we just set some time aside and worked on a strategy, and so we can consult with one another. We're our own complementary consulting team, if you would.
And I think you mentioned that because of your heavy travel schedule, you haven't been able to get involved in maybe some of the other opportunities. Not that they're not valuable, but it's tougher, isn't it, with your schedule?
So I do like to give back to the community in both a charitable way and in a business way. And I am not the best candidate to sit on a board of directors for a group that mandates attendance on a certain day every month. I will not be reliable. And so I have to pick the groups that I can be a part of and the contribution, because I do contribute. And if I'm going to be a part of something, I'm all in. But that is hard sometimes, recognizing that I have to turn down those opportunities. But it's best for the group. So if I have to be there the first Monday of every month, I just know that that's not my lifestyle, and I won't be able to be a part of that program.
What would you say is the most important characteristic for an entrepreneur?
Grit. Passion, stick-to-itiveness. It's all about, if you want to grow, if you're content and your business model lends itself to just having a little side income or something that just works periodically, I think that that could be different. That's not the trajectory that I'm on. I always I'm competitive with myself, and I just love to grow and love to advance. And so I think that those ones carry people forward because you're going to put in a few hours and probably about 30 hours more than you thought in a week.
Tell us what you love about your job.
I love the opportunity to turn the key and come into work. I love being there. I love helping people because we're coming up with solutions to their challenges. I love to mentor and coach. I do like to talk. I love to give advice. And so from that perspective, I'm all about the opportunity to jump in and dive into something new that I haven't done. I like connecting into putting together new relationships and new partnerships. And so for me, I'm wired. I just come to work happy.
How are we doing on time? Christina, I didn't have my phone. Yeah, maybe we need to do Q&A a little bit. Are there some things you'd like to share, and then we'll open it up for some questions?
Well, I can always share. So I think the thing is really about knowing what you want to do. And I don't think you have to know from day one what you want to do, because it's like when someone says, what's your 5-year goal? I think it's okay not to have a 5-year goal, especially with technology today. I think that we don't know what's going to be available in a few years, so I don't want to limit myself and pigeonhole myself into something, but I think it's okay to know something's not for you. I think it's okay to fire clients. I think it's okay to fire profitable clients if they don't lend to good morale. And I think it's okay to fire yourself. If you need to be put in timeout and redirect your efforts, I think that's okay too, because I don't think you can continue going down the same path always. That if you're someone that has ambitions, I think it's okay to redirect and really think, is that the right client for me? Is that the right type of business? We have to turn away business that's not profitable sometimes, and we want to help them, but it doesn't help us get where we need to go. We need to provide for our employees. And so I think really thinking about who your clientele is an okay thing, and letting people know I do have minimums. And I think it also sets you up for success when people see that they are working with a successful company and that you have minimums. I think it elevates you and lets them know that, hey, this is a good group. They're not desperate. Desperation, I don't think works.
And that reminds me of your Tsb certification and how your reasoning behind getting it in the beginning, and how now maybe it's morphing into something different.
Right. So we are a targeted small business. We're also a business that is Women Business Enterprise certified. And for the targeted small business, which is here in Iowa, the program allows us to let people know that someone has looked at our financials. Someone has certified us to say that this is a company that we believe has opportunity to give you good service. And so that's why we got that. You can go get business from the government with it, and you can do many things. Our focus was just for the certification in itself. In the earlier years, that was important to us.
That's good. That's good. It did provide a level of legitimacy to your business that in the beginning is so valuable, and then you can also benefit from the opportunities within the TSB program. So,
right, and we've been referral based. I like to tell people we're order takers. The phone rings, and then we decide if we want to take that business or not. We're going to be taking it in a different direction in the near future. However, up until now, it's hard when someone calls and says, so-and-so referred me, I'd like to do business with you. But now we say, well, tell us more. We'll see if you're a good fit for us. If not, I'd like to find someone that I can recommend you to. And I think that's really key too, finding other people in the industry that you respect, that you can put your validation on, and referring the business on that's not a good fit for you.
Good. You guys ready to ask some questions? All right, go right ahead. Mary Ann.
Should I give her the microphone?
Either that, or can you just repeat it?
Sure.
So I know, Michelle, you are very organized and have processes and procedures in place. So I'm curious about the relationship partnerships, because I know if your business is in a legal partnership or financial partnership, you would have documents written up and signed. So tell us more about the relationship partnerships and if you have a contract or agreement of sorts or how that comes about.
Yes, okay. In regards to the types of relationship partnerships that we have and how those work best, for us, the example that I'll use is that I do not have on my team full-time staff that handle air ticketing. But I have a company that I help train the staff that works on our events, and I have quarterly reviews. We meet with them in person annually. We're on the phone and the email with them throughout the day, and they provide a service to us that is second to none. I could not find that level of talent that I would need within our own company, being a small company. And it also allows me to hold them accountable to provide a very high level of service by using a service level agreement. So we have expectations that we have outlined for them. And in this service level agreement, every quarter, we make sure we're going through it, making sure that we're touching on all those points and that we're both satisfied with the relationship. If we're having any issues and find that something needs to change, then we talk about it and we come up with when should we get back together to see that the service has changed in whatever we might need. And it's a very healthy relationship, and it's been like that since I started. I've been in business 15 years, and I've had that. We have a non-compete and a confidentiality agreement with them because they also have in their hands very sensitive data. They have my client's credit card information. They have attendee information. There are regulations in my industry right now called the GDPR coming out of the European state or European Union. And so we have to follow very regulated information. We need to know that they've got our back and that they're following all of the policies. I did choose to go with a women-owned company, and they're one of the top 10 in the nation. And so I get the service level I need by having that, and with any company I do business with, I use the non-compete confidentiality to make sure that we're on the same page. But regular check-ins and just making sure that we're both satisfying our end of the deal. And I ask them too, how could I be a better partner?
What else would you like to share?
Trying to think what else I should share.
What yeah, did you have another?
Most unique trip or a disaster that you
okay.
extra, I know you've got all kinds of stories, I imagine you do, but share with us some.
Well, I'm being recorded. Read all of them.
So kind of the most unique situation on the ground, how you...
Well, I can tell you a few fun stories because they just make for a good Friday afternoon then. I had a gentleman that was inebriated that went down the hallway of a hotel and stole all the Swarovski crystals off of every light in the hotel sleeping room area. But he was so past his limit that when he got to his room and opened the door, he passed out halfway in the hallway, halfway into his room, and all of the crystals were thrown into the room. And so those are the things that we get calls at, our meeting planners, at 3 in the morning, and we get asked to come down. And so you always travel with good pajamas when you're a meeting planner, in case you have to run downstairs in the middle of the night. We also take precautions. We have an emergency bag when I go to a hotel room. Another funny thing about us is that we have an emergency bag that's sitting right by the door. So in the middle of the night, before I go to bed, I put my shoes and my socks, and I've got a pair of pants right there. I've got a jacket or whatever I need. I've got my purse, I've got my emergency binder, and my computer and my phone all lined up. So if there is an emergency, and you can imagine the emergencies that you've heard on national news as of recent, and I have to evacuate the hotel, and there's no generator, and I can't see my way out, I've got everything in one spot. I can grab it, throw it all in my bag, and I'm out the door. And I could probably do that in about 30 seconds. Otherwise, when you're in an area so unfamiliar to yourself, you'd never know where anything was. But if I'm responsible for other people and I'm on that program, and I want to be responsible for myself. I just travel differently than maybe you do. So we
Do you do that as a leisure traveler
Yeah.
as well with your family?
Absolutely. Yeah, you might not want to travel with me. I'm very organized. So I think from that perspective, we've had that. We did just have to rescue people out of hurricane in Cabo. We had people in, and we had to change the whole program. And so then we had to go get them all on air flights home. And we've had to do that before. My group had just landed in Hawaii. The president had just landed in Hawaii of an insurance company. While he was in the air, Aloha Airlines announced they were going out of business. And so at that time, I realized that I had him on that flight and a few other people coming then. All the rest were coming over. And so within the next 24 hours, we would have hundreds of people coming in. And so we wondered what that meant. So we had to reticket everybody. But I'll never forget, because he looked at me and he told me, he's like, do you know that this airline, they just went under? And I'm like, yeah, I know. And I was just standing there, and he's like, why are you so calm about this? And I said, well, I'm not calm on the inside. I'm running through all the strategies. I said, but I figure if I'm more calm in front of you, that's probably the reaction you want me to have with your attendees, so they all feel like everything's okay. I said, believe me, on the inside, I'm churning for you. So we've had that happen. And on that same trip, we reticketed people out. We were so fortunate. We were able to get everyone reticketed. I went to bed. The air team back here got everyone reticketed. When I woke up, I had all the confirmations, all new flights. And then the airline that they booked them on, you can see where this is going, they went out of business. And so 2 days later, we had to rebook everybody else on trips back home. We got everybody but one couple. The gentleman, he got a seat up front, and his wife got a middle seat, and he wasn't too happy with me. And I told him, I said, we could keep you here for another 2 weeks, because all the rest of the groups, I heard a rumor, they didn't get tickets, and you guys are all home. So at that point, I think I was forgiven, but I know no one wants the middle seat. You can make friends that way, though. I get middle seats still to this day. So yeah, there's always a fun story. I mean, I can almost tell you a story about all of them. Most of them are pretty good, but you know, when you put people out of their area and you give them maybe a beverage or two, there's going to be a story.
Anybody have anything they'd like to ask? Well, you've been a wonderful guest. Thank
Thank
you
you
so much, and
Thanks.
congratulations on all your success.
Thank you so much.
Continue.
It's been fun.
Thank you.